Uh, hey, everybody, we are back and live again. And apologize for the technical difficulties before. I was trying an experimental setup where I was using Skype. Basically, I can show you right here. I have Skype. I got Vinny on Skype here, right? Say hi, Vinny. Um,
Hello, everyone.
but I also had YouTube at the same time. And what happened was that I ran into an issue I should have forecast having to do with RAM, right? And it slowed things down and all that. So anyway, hey, undeterred, technically tech being what it is, you can always figure out the answer, all right? On the way through here, we were going through and we'll go back to the recap of the scores and everything else to the NFL. But Vinny asked me a question that I want everybody to hear. So Vinny, fire away, please.
We were talking about the Raiders before, and I've always been pretty curious. You grew up in Oakland. What do you think is the new stadium that the Raiders are going to, and how do you think it's going to affect how it is for the team and just how the NFL is going forward?
Well, it's going to be difficult because, first of all, Las Vegas is an unproven market. That said, the Raiders are selling a record number of pre-sales for their history, and
That's impressive. They are the Raiders that fall. They are very, very, very well known, iconic, professional team.
And they've got, but they're going in a situation where, look, let's face it, Las Vegas is the 42nd largest media market. It is not number 1 or 2 like LA and New York. That said, Las Vegas has that it factor that produces hyperbole. Everybody expects more from Las Vegas because Las Vegas projects that image that it's bigger than it really is. But the bigness that it is huge, okay? It's the only city that I can think of that, outside of New York, where when you say the name of that city, outside of New York, or Chicago, or Los Angeles, Las Vegas, I say New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Miami. When I say the names of those cities, you have in your mind, or San Francisco, you have in your mind for all those cities expectations. Like, for example, for New York, it's business, it's power, it's glamour, it's media. For Chicago, it's Midwest, city of the big shoulders, middle class, all that hub of transportation. LA, it's entertainment. Miami, it's leisure and tourism and models and scantily clad and all that stuff, right? There's a vision. But in Vegas, it's fun and it's gambling, okay? And there's this idea that if you go to Vegas, you become somebody else. That factor is that it's a giant X factor that helps the Raiders to a degree get sponsorships, but not to a point where they're drawing in as much money as they need to easily pay for the stadium and have a cushion of money left over, okay? And that's already hurting them. And so I think that they really bet on gambling being legalized for allowing the merger between sports and betting, which is occurring, but it's not occurring fast enough to solve the Raiders' money woes right off the bat. They will eventually get the money that they seek, but it will be down the road and it won't be as much as they believe, okay? And so the Raiders are going to have to do some crafty financial maneuvering to make that whole thing work. Now, I think they can, okay? And it is there to be done. Because what they have going for them is Nevada has never in its history had a building like the one that's being built in Las Vegas Stadium. It will.
The closest thing you can have is the T-Mobile Arena, where the Vegas Golden Knights have.
Right, but this is.
But we all know that. Everyone knows that football is bigger than hockey.
Right, but also the thing is just huge. It's like 1.8 million square feet, thereabouts. 1.2 million square feet, 65,000 seats, 72,000 for the Super Bowl. It's going to dramatically change Las Vegas' ability to get and maintain big events. It already has some of the big conventions. It already has the biggest convention in the world, CES, Las Vegas, which this will be my 10th year attending. Okay, so it and it's going to only enhance that capability, along with the Las Vegas Convention Center going through its expansion process as I speak. So that's the good thing. But my question is, there are a lot of sharks circling the water to see if the Raiders can pull this off. And I think that the sharks are people who are gambling investors who I believe are basically waiting for the Raiders to falter so they can swoop in and buy up the team. I really believe that. Okay. And so I think that's what's going to happen. I think they would have been better off in Oakland. And I think they really could have found a great set of sponsors within the tech community. The Warriors have raised $2 billion in sponsorships at Chase Center from tech. And if the Warriors can do it, there's no reason the Raiders can't do it, okay? At all.
Now, I do feel bad for you, Oaklanders, because even though the Warriors are still in the Bay, they're now in San Francisco, and the Raiders are going to Las Vegas. Like, all you guys have left are the Athletics, and fortunately for you, it looks like they might be staying for now, because for all we know, they could make a proposal saying, "Oh, we're moving to Portland" or whatever.
Which is my fear. That's my fear. I think,
for you, I hope that Oakland at least has one team still, because I would hate to see a city go from 3 teams to 0 teams in a span of 5 years.
It shouldn't happen. And not only that, too, I have to say, we as a city, Oakland, we can handle 3 teams. And people stupidly, I'll just say it straight out, stupidly compare Oakland as a city unto itself against Las Vegas as a metropolitan area. That's wrong. Oakland is at the center of the Bay Area metropolitan area, which is almost over 8 million people in size. It is 3 times larger. Again, it's 3 times larger than Las Vegas metropolitan area. So it can easily handle 2 Major League Baseball teams, as it does. It can easily handle, I argue, 2 NFL teams, as it has. And it can easily handle 2 NBA teams, as it has not been given the chance to do so. Oakland.
The closest thing you can maybe say is maybe the Kings. You can kind of say, but they're in Sacramento,
right? But they have a new arena, and they're supporting that metropolitan area, supporting its Kings. Okay, Oakland, and I think Oakland needs to prove as a city that it has the will and the initiative to complete big projects. Okay, and it hasn't done that yet. The A's are giving them their last chance. All right, they're giving their last chance to do that. But then I have friends of mine who called and told me, "Hey, your guys are trying to move. Your guys are trying to move to Portland. They're talking to Portland." And I put that out there, and I think it upset a number of the people with the Athletics. But my point is, hey, look. My friends are not just fly-by-nights. They're very big people in real estate and urban development in the Bay Area. And if they call and say, hey, look, you guys are doing it, then you're doing it, all right? You can dispute all you want to. I'm not going to tell you who said it. But when they talk, I listen. And they called me out of the blue and told me this. These are people I've known for 30 years, You
can't just say that, oh, these people just don't know what you're talking about. These are people that you trust very, very well. And for Oakland, it's very, very different from with St. Louis. St. Louis already has the Blues, they already have the Cardinals, and my friend from St. Louis, they literally see Kroenke as the devil. They see him as a hideous, horrible figure. They literally just hate him relentlessly because of how they handle it. The fact that he's from Missouri and he sent the team packing to Southern California, where the team was for the previous 50 years of their existence. Well, not their original existence, because the mid-40s to the mid-90s, they were in Los Angeles, and they were back there now.
But I'll tell you what caused that. You know what happened? That none of that would have happened. Although Stan had that land for quite some time, but I'll tell you what really pushed all that, and that was when Steve Ballmer laid down $2 billion to buy the Clippers and move them, and excuse me, not move them, but buy the Clippers in Los Angeles for $2 billion. And what that said to the NFL, I remember it when it happened. It was like an earthquake, because the ownership, quite literally, right then and there, was saying, "Wait a minute, if Steve Ballmer can lay down $2 billion for a second-rate team, as they thought it was at the time, in
No,
LA,
no.
he says, why aren't we here? What are we doing when we're not there?" And that's really what caused the NFL to move like it has. Las Vegas was not something that the NFL planned. That was Mark Davis. They wanted.
Yeah, it seems like a more of a, even the NHL. This seems like a more recent thing, because they were talking about the NFL in Los Angeles for years. Like, I remember back when I was little, why doesn't the team have it in, like, the Rams used to be in LA? They used to be in LA. The Rams were in Los Angeles, and I said that seems so weird. I've always known them as the St. Louis Rams. And well, obviously now I think differently. Now they are the Los Angeles Rams, and now we also have the Los Angeles Chargers, and we know how well that's been doing.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about it is that, you know, hey, so let's go back to our I don't have my scoring thing up, so I'm gonna have you take us through the rest of them.
We've talked about the Rams,
yeah,
and it's been going fine in Los Angeles. Chargers is a completely different story, but they've been doing fine in Los Angeles because, you know, they were there for, you know, 50 years, they have a large fan base there. Let's talk about these Rams in Los Angeles and how they were shockingly upset, 55-40 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean,
loved it. I
hope you had Jameis.
I loved it.
I hope you had Jameis in fantasy.
I loved it. I loved every minute. I loved every minute of it, because I've been a Jameis Winston fan since his freshman year at Florida State, and I just feel like I know there are people who hold that situation against him with Erica Kinsman, but I've read that case 735 pages 6 times. Okay, and yeah, and I'll just simply say that they were both very drunk. They're also underage. People don't report that. And on top of all that, Jameis could have saved himself simply by calling her and checking in once he dropped her off, rather than letting her flounder because she was drunk. And sometimes when people drink a lot, they become a different person and they forget what happens until somebody else puts an idea in their head. So if you're saying this, if you're in college, right? If you ever meet a woman at a bar situation and you have a lot to drink, make sure if you are in a position where you have to drop her off or you're waking up the next day with them, that you all have a talk. Don't text. Pick up the phone and call and say, hey, how you doing? And did you have a good time last night? And then if the person says, hey, I don't remember what happened, then you have to put your heads together and make sure that you talk about what happened so that there's no misunderstanding. Because I'm telling you guys, if you don't call the woman after an encounter where a lovemaking encounter where alcohol is involved, you could wind up in the situation that Jameis found himself in, because and you don't want to be there, and so I think there was a lot of racial politics that came into that. Erica's auntie, I think, was her attorney, and then said at one point she would never sleep with a black boy. And and hey, she didn't know. I said, Miss Cornwell, are you aware that your supposedly pure niece, if you will, had sex with 2 black men within the space of 24 hours? Okay, and I mean, so it's like, there were a lot of people who got interested in this and were interested in Jameis' downfall for reasons that were racist. And
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that Jameis
I would say,
didn't make some. I mean, like the whole thing about jumping on a table and yelling blankety blankety blank was stupid. But look,
yeah.
you know,
I know that Jameis has done some miscues, and obviously, as for him being the number one pick, he hasn't exactly lived the party 100%. But I think, if Bruce Arians can help coach him out a little bit, which so far he's done an okay job, and I think this was a statement game for Jameis Winston to say, look, I don't want people to think that I'm a bust. I don't want them to think that, I'm a failure of a number one pick.
Oh, here's the thing. I don't think he is a
Jameis
failure.
Went out there and was able to execute the plays.
Right.
4 touchdowns, and they took away Mike Evans. Who cares? You have Chris Godwin, who was wide open, 12 receptions, 172 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So fantastic game from him.
Yeah. But hey, Vinny, you know what I thought? I'll tell you, Jameis' statement game was the one he didn't win, and that was against the Giants. Because he was
that
killing.
One too. He was good in that game too.
He was killing the Giants, man. I'm sorry. That was like, hey, look.
They should have won that game.
Yeah.
They didn't win that game because the kicker missed the field goal. It's that simple.
Gay makes that kick. We're talking about the second coming, okay? Because Jameis would have had 2 games where he was phenomenal. 2 games. And he still does. The only difference between the Giants game and this one is they did all the right things in this game. And everything, they played their butts off, mainly because of what happened with the Giants game. I know they were pissed off.
And guess what? Yeah, but that's against the Giants. Okay, the Giants were about the Rams. The Rams made it to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So talk about a turnaround. And the Bucs, you always said that one team that always comes from worst to first, every year, fourth one year, and then first the next year. I will not be shocked. I know it's kind of bold, but because the Saints still doing good, but I would not be shocked with the fact the way the Falcons are playing and the way that the Panthers are playing. What if the Buccaneers win the division?
No, I have them winning the division. I have them winning the division. I have them winning the division, and I have the Falcons in last place, and I called it for reasons I've explained before. But I believe that Bruce Arians has the right plan for Jameis. My issue with Dirk, and again, this is a personal toward Dirk, who I've met and interviewed and had a great conversation with him at the NFL annual meeting 2 years ago, and very nice man. But Dirk, in the way that he coaches, okay, is one of these. He has this thing where he just yells at you if you make a mistake, but he won't be a technician and work with you and fix what you did wrong during the game. He'll wait until after the game. Well, to me, a coach should be able to diagnose right off the bat what went wrong and fix it right then and there. That's why I think Cliff Kingsbury will eventually get a win, because he's still fixing. The problem with Kingsbury in Arizona, I think, is that that air raid that they're running, it doesn't have a timed offense. It's not timed. It's kind of like throw it up and catch it. You know what I mean? I don't know what your thoughts are. Hey, so what are the other games we can go through? And because I don't want to get too off the track,
Yeah, I would say that the Rams, they're going to be fine. They're going to play against the Seahawks on Thursday night. They're going to be fine. And speaking against the Seahawks, we already talked about that game, but Vikings Bears. Wow, they have the Bears really controlled this entire game, wearing those 1930s throwbacks, which look beautiful, by the way. Again, the Vikings didn't get a point on the board until the very, very end. That was essentially garbage time at that point. The Bears came to play. Even with Mitch Trubisky, who went down due to a shoulder injury, didn't matter because Chase Daniels, once he got in, it seemed like the playbook got opened up a little bit more.
Ooh. Are you saying what I think you're saying?
Am I saying that I think that Chase Daniel might be a little bit better to lead this team as opposed to Mitch Trubisky?
Yeah.
Perhaps. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Keep talking.
I would not be shocked. I think, Chase Daniels, now granted, he wasn't great, but he was solid. He was serviceable for the team. He didn't give up an interception. He threw a touchdown. He almost threw 200 yards. Now, granted, I'm not saying Trubisky's bad, but let's be real. He has not been that good. He hasn't been great for the first few weeks of the season. Some people are thinking of him as maybe a Mitchell Zoolander because he is not really exactly the best at throwing to his left. But, this was a team that was dominated by defense. Obviously, it was a 16-6 win. It was very, very gritty. Like, it's one of those, when you think of an NFC North battle, you think of something like this. You think of a low-scoring, defensive-heavy, tough, physical game. And you got that a lot from here. And, David Montgomery, 53 yards on the ground. The only receiving touchdown was from Tariq Cohen. There was a lot of sacks in this game. Nick Williams got 2 sacks. Roy Robertson-Harris got 1.5. Nick Iwakowski got a sack. It was a very, very... Khalil Mack got a 1.5 sacks. I mean...
So in the next... So in your next sentence, you're going to tell me... Hey, so Vinny...
They got 6 sacks against that Vikings offensive line.
So Vinny, in the next...
Completely dominating them.
So Vinny, your next sentence, you're going to tell me that Oprah was there saying, and you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a sack, and you get a sack, right? I get you.
It seems like that's the case. And the Vikings, on the other hand, they only had 1 sack that entire game. They got a number of tackles. Eric Kendricks had a number of tackles himself. Xavier Rhodes had a number of tackles as well. So in terms of trying to rush the passer, not exactly the best. When it comes to Vikings, this is not a win they need to have. I mean, the Vikings are in a division in which every single team, including them, has a 500 or more record. That is not acceptable, especially if you want to compete with it. Now, next week, they're going to be against the Giants, a team that's won their last 2 games and their defense has been getting better by every week. They got to make sure that, Kirk Cousins is a lot better. They got to try to see if they can run Dalvin Cook a little bit more because he's a little bit off this week. Let's just see how it goes for the Bears. Like I said, they're going to be playing in London. That's the London game against the Raiders. That's going to be a very, very interesting opponent for both teams. I cannot wait for that.
John Akala's here. Hey, John, how you doing? John's one of our regular viewers. And then Frederick Williams says Atlanta Falcons are falling apart. Your thoughts? I agree. And we were talking. Go ahead.
The only two that seem to be okay is
Patrick and Blackwood is here. Hey, Patrick. Sorry. All the posse's coming in.
Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. Those seem to be the only two that seem to be. I understand that Matt Ryan has had his interceptions, but he's still been dominant. He's still been having plays. And Julio Jones is still doing a great thing for him. Devontae Freeman's not the same guy as he was. But basically, let's go to the Jaguars and the Broncos. Oh, man. So much for Vic Fangio. So much for him turning that defense around.
Hey, excuse me. Face
so
plant.
Much for him.
What? Face plant. I'm doing a face plant. Ugh. Talking about Vic Fangio. Oh my God. Oh.
So much for him. So much for so many people out the world. So happy that, oh my God, thank you, Broncos, for not taking a guy that's another offensive winger. Finally, old school guy we like. And then we actually have seen how he's been doing as a head coach. And how's that old school philosophy working for you, Vic? How's that working for you?
Oh, I said it the first game. I said the first game that the Broncos were not well coached. I just said it straight out. They weren't because they're slow. Everything about the Broncos is slow. It's like they're playing 15 years ago.
Yeah, when it comes to the Broncos, people were happy with this because they hate change. Okay, a lot of them don't like change, and they were upset that the NFL got a little bit more pass happy last year, and they saw Vic Fangio as a way to quell those demons.
Yeah.
And that's actually how people have been going. I understand it's online, but what do they say now? I'm guessing they're not really too happy about the hire of Vic Fangio. I'm guessing they would rather have one of those guys that farted in the same room with Sean McVay. I think they much rather have one of those guys.
Here's the thing. Vic will last this year. He'll probably get a couple of wins. They'll give him another chance next year, and he won't fare much better. And then they'll get rid of him after that. And it'll be a wasted, lost cause.
If they keep him, if the thing that happens for next year, he has every reason to be fired. Because if you can get rid of Vance Joseph after 2 years, and he actually thought, if you're gonna get rid of Vance Joseph after 2 years, you should get rid of Vic Fangio after 2 years.
Right.
The play that is the same way. It's just only fair that way.
Yeah, I can't see where they're getting better. And at some point, John Elway himself has to just come to terms with this. He has to be held accountable and say, ultimately, the buck stops with me, and maybe I need to reevaluate how I'm doing this. There you go. Hey, so the next game. Hey,
final, and as for the Jaguars, Minshew mania, he does it again. And the Jaguars, like I said, tied with the Colts and Texans. It's going to be a 4-team race in that division because everyone in that division is 2-2.
Frederick Williams says Jay Gruden is about to be fired. Patrick and Blackman says peace, everybody. And Frederick Williams says Atlanta Falcons are falling apart. John Akala, how you doing? And how's the Sunday night game going?
Well, the Saints just won 12-10. You were right. The Saints didn't win. But, again, they did not score a single touchdown. The last time they won a game without scoring a touchdown was 20 years ago against the
Buccaneers. Teddy. Oh, everybody was against.
Really, now, granted, they may not have had a touchdown, but a win is still a win at the end of the day. And, Prescott had an okay game. Granted, he couldn't throw a touchdown, but he did throw an interception, unfortunately. Zeke had 36 yards rushing. Again, not exactly the best kind of performance from Ezekiel Elliott that you'd hope to see. But now there's no longer any teams outside the 49ers that are undefeated currently. The Saints, they're going to be just fine without Drew Brees. They are going to be just fine without him. Now, granted, it's only been 2 weeks. For all we know, next is against the Buccaneers. They can make turn on again, or for all we know, they can fall apart on their face.
Hey, the Buccaneers' next opponent is who's the Buccaneers' next opponent?
They are against the Saints.
The Saints. Oh, that's right, the Saints. Oh, that's going to be a doozy. That's in the Superdome too. Oh my Lord. John Akala says
that's gonna be great. That's gonna be a fun matchup.
One of our veterans, John Akala, says that I hope when Khalil Mack is rushing the quarterback next week, he's being blocked by Trent Brown. I don't think Mack can overpower him. That's going to be a fun game to watch,
Yeah, Trent Brown, they put him over to the right side. I said, why are you putting the guy you made put that money over to the right side? But it turns out, in week 1, for instance, it turned out to work well because Von Miller is great at rushing on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And they have Trent Brown, very quality offensive tackle. I mean, he's not great, but he's good. Colt Miller is not great, but he's gotten a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And this Raiders team, in fact, they're 2-2 to start the season.
Yep.
Not bad. Now, granted, I don't see this team make the playoffs, but no.
I have the Raiders for wild card. I have the Raiders at 9-7.
Not bad. And hey, it's amazing how you bring in Antonio Brown and you get rid of him, and it's just fine without him. The Patriots are just fine without him. The team's just fine without him. Both of them are just fine without him.
And next game, Patrick and Blackman says the Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen might be a bust. And then Frederick Williams asks, what do you guys think of the Chiefs-Lions game? It was definitely a nail-biter. And then Patrick and Blackman says he had the Raiders at 7-9. And John Akala says Incognito is playing good too. And yeah, he is playing quite well. Oh, he did have one penalty, but whatever, he's definitely made a difference.
I would say it's way too soon to call Josh Allen a bust because he just had his first bad game of the season, throwing 3 interceptions. It's against the Patriots. Okay, this team was 3-0. You're going to have that pressure on you as a quarterback.
Mm-hmm. True.
I think he can be fine. Him and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson didn't have a great game either, but that's not saying they're bust. I mean,
but no, you can't.
The only one you can maybe say it's way too soon to call any of the guys a bust. The only guy you can maybe say is a bust is Josh Rosen, but even then, he finds himself in a terrible situation. The fact that he was drafted by the Cardinals, they dumped him for nothing, basically. And he's with the Dolphins, a team that's actively trying to tank.
I will say this, though. A great defense is a young quarterback's best friend. If you have even a good defense, because that defense gets stops, it gives you more turns at bat with your offense, more chances for you to make a great play and win a game. So, hey, look, no great defense, no great performance. Look at what Kyle's going through in Arizona. The real problem with Arizona, they can't stop anybody. So,
and also, the O-line is also not that good either.
Well, but at the end of the day, I always look at two defenses I've ever seen, and I compare those defenses with everything else. That's the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens. And I called the 2000 Ravens personally. I saw when they played the Jets preseason in 2000, Vinny, they came off the ball faster than any team I've ever seen in my entire life. To this day, okay? And it changed.
The crazy thing is,
it changed how I think about football.
It's the game. And the crazy thing is that they didn't even finish first in their division.
No, but that's the thing. But their defense, I mean, they because their offense was lousy, okay? But their defense, they came off the ball so fast, it scared me. I called a friend of mine that day. I said, you got to watch the Ravens. I said, the Ravens are going. I said, the Ravens are going to the playoffs because of their defense. You heard it here. And they went further. They did. And they went to the Super Bowl.
And they won.
Yeah.
The only touchdown that they gave up was a return touchdown near the end of the game.
Right. And so I'm a big believer. You want to structure a great defense. You coach it to get off the ball like that. The faster they get off the ball, single gap, get in the backfield, disrupt, the better. And the Ravens defense did that better than any other defense except the 85 Bears. The Cowboys defense in the 70s.
I was thinking of the 2013 Seahawks. Like, this is a young Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And what helped him out a lot was how dominant the Legion of Boom was. And of course, you all know what happened with that team. They proceeded to go to the Super Bowl 48 and absolutely pummeled the Denver Broncos.
Yes.
And that definitely helps out Russell Wilson a lot, because now you have the title being the Super Bowl winner on him. So you don't have to have that idea of saying, oh, he's not good to Winston. He won the Super Bowl. And of course, you see a lot of these. You see how the Ravens have been. You see the Seahawks have been as an organization. You've seen how other teams have been on a Super Bowl win like that. The Bears have been defined by, their defense. Like the Bears, for their entire history, they're always known for, never really the quarterback, but everyone around the quarterback. Ravens, it's always been known for defense. Seahawks, basically the NFC version of the Patriots. That's a team that's always competitive year after year and always usually has a winning record and usually finds itself in the playoffs.
Yep.
There's no exact comparison to the Patriots, but if you were to look at one in the NFC, the closest would be the Seattle Seahawks.
I'm going to have to wind this up in 10 minutes, but want to get some comments in. And John Collins says he's going to be in the Bay Area next weekend for the Monday night game, Browns and 49ers. I will not be in the Bay Area, John, but I may have an assignment for you. And then Patrick in Blackman says, I think the 2000 Ravens were better defensively. They were good all around. The 85 Bears can be beat with a great quarterback, but that quarterback must be great. Oh, you mean like Dan Marino?
But that was only one game.
Right, that was one game. Yeah, and that I remember Denny Green, the late Denny Green, saying the Bears are who we thought they were, and we
the Bears are who we thought they were,
and we let off the hook.
You want to cry them? Cry them right now.
Yeah, that's right. Oh boy, he was pissed. The late great Denny Green, boy, he left us too soon. Too soon. Yeah. Hey, did we miss any games to comment? Did we get everything?
Yeah, that's all the games. The only other game to talk about is the one that's happening tomorrow.
So what do you think?
The Bengals and the Steelers. Now, first off, before I mention these, I should mention that Sunday Monday night games are just plain, like, for instance, week 8, you're going to get a heavy hitter match.
Oh, Vinny, I forgot something. Vinny, I forgot something real quick. Frederick Williams asked us to recap the Chiefs lines. We did it before, but I'll give you from my end. The Chiefs proved that you need to pay attention to finishing, and they did that. What do you think about Chiefs? I know we talked about, but real quick, Chiefs Lions. What are your thoughts?
I would say that the Chiefs are a team that are going to be reckoned with in the AFC. I also think the Lions are going to be one in which don't expect them to fall off the cliff right now, because I think there's still going to be a team that's going to be rather scrappy to the very end. So I don't know if that's going to translate to them making the playoffs, because the rest of the teams in that division are pretty good as well.
Okay, all right. Vinny, this is fantastic, man. I'm going to set you up on our blog and vlog, so I love to have you. And yes, the vlogs are occasionally for pay, so you'll be part of our group. I think I love what you're doing, and hey, man, you're glib. You talk sports well, so welcome aboard.
Oh, thanks. Anytime. Also, I need to tell you know, for anyone that's listening, make sure you go to the podcast they do with Kirk Butner from NotInTheHallOfFame.com. It's NotInTheHallOfFame.com. That's all just one word, and you'll find the podcast he does. The Buck Stops Here, and I've done part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on every single division in the NFL. And then soon I'm going to be having a whole list of deserving non-players, I mean, like owners, executives, contributors, coaches, all that stuff that have benefited the game. And you should all really check out the series, because I'm going to mention a lot of guys that are very, very highly demanded by fans and by even some voters, like, like for instance, Chuck Howley's one, Elsie Greenwood, Hugh Slater, Lovie Dilwig, Ken Anderson, Roman Gabriel, Eddie Meter, many of these, Alex Karras, Ox Emerson, a lot of these very, very legendary people throughout history. And yeah, I do mention
Ray Chester. We got to get Ray Chester in there too. Raiders tight end.
I mentioned a few Raiders. I mentioned Lester Hayes. I mentioned Clem Daniels. I mentioned Cliff Branch. I mentioned our pal, Dave Grayson. A lot of Raiders. Though I saw some Raiders fans mention guys like John Matuzak for some reason. And I'm like saying to myself, why are you asking for John Matuzak when no one is asking for Steve Wisniewski, who had 8 All-Pros at the guard?
Right. I think Twos is more of a. In fact, I think it's more of a cultural kind of Raiders thing. But John, but also
I think so too.
Not taking anything away from John Matuzak. Look, there were 2 guys in Raider lore who were just. I mean, when I say huge, they were huge in stature. I don't mean physical stature. One was Big Ben Davidson. All right, like 6'6", 6'7", okay, and actually there are 3. Big Ben Davidson, Ted Hendricks, the Mad Stork, who was like what, almost
the best Guatemalans ever played.
6'9", I think. And number 83, he was out. Ted Hendricks was a strong side outside linebacker who was as tall as Ed Too Tall Jones, almost as tall. He wasn't 7'2", almost as tall as Ed Jones. All right, and then of course there was John Matuzak, who was equally tall. And look, Twos was a streaky player, but I'm telling you, you did not want to piss him off. If you pissed him off, you could. I mean, look, if you pissed off John Matuzak, you could forget about running around the strong, around right end, okay? A left end, excuse me. You can forget around.
When it comes to Raiders fans, they tend to forget the guys that were like very big impact. Like they don't really mention guys like Daniels, who finished the AFL all-time in rushing, or Dave Grayson with interceptions, or Steve Wisniewski with the All-Pros. Because with them, they see it more as the guys that identify with their team.
It's a cult of personality
as opposed to
It's a cult.
But then again, I can understand that, but that's not how people usually vote for this stuff.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But I would say definitely, it's a much deeper analysis of how a fan base is. Because I also look at a lot of this stuff as well as how to see how fan bases are. Like for instance, Broncos fans literally think the entire world is out to get them. Not as much like Raiders, but a lot of them. Because it took so long for guys like Pat Bones to be in. Now there's only 7 Broncos in with guys like Steve Atwater, Tom Nalen, Brady Gradishar, Louis Rice, Rick Upchurch, Rich Jackson, many of these other guys, Dennis Smith, a lot of these great Broncos, Carl Mecklenburg, a lot of these great Broncos in the years. And because the Broncos had a low number, despite the fact they've been at 8 Super Bowls, they thought as literally like a deep-rooted hatred, they literally believe, at least some of them believe that a literal deep-rooted hatred, which I can understand where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, because if I was a fan of a team that had so much success and technically nothing in terms of the jackets and butts to show for it, I'd be annoyed too. And you can just really see the passion from them, and that's why Gradishar is such a demanded, and Atwater's very, very demanded as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Randy Gradishar and also
Louis Wright.
yeah.
But then there's also Patriots fans. I think the Patriots fans are going to see somewhat of a merger between the two because they're going to see the number of players they have despite their history, but they're also going to feel like the world's out to get them almost like Raiders fans, in which they mention the guys, like sometimes they mention the guys before Belichick days, like Gino Cappelletti or Stanley Morgan or Ben Coates. And then, they also mentioned some guys here, like, obviously Rob Gronkowski, Richard Seymour, Rodney Harrison, a few of those other guys. Yep. But then you also kind of see them advocate for a long-time Patriots because they're Patriots. Like, for instance, you see them want Teddy Bruschi or Willie McGinnis. And a lot of times it's the reason why they wanted them so much because they were big organizational pieces to their franchise. Mm-hmm. Not so much as, like, they see it as you don't respect the organization. You think it's too much on Belichick and Brady. And I can already see Rodney Harrison planting the seed by saying, oh, the media, they're out to get us because they want to punish Patriots. It's discrimination. And I can already see that with some Patriots fans that have been saying it. And I think that's planting the seeds to try to push for a lot of these other Patriots. Even some other ones that maybe seen as somewhat fringe, like Logan Mankins, I think is really deserving. Mm-hmm. Wes Welker is another one. And even one and Matt Slater and Stephen Gostkowski. But there is one Patriot that is an ultimate lightning rod. And it's actually kind of somewhat similar to a Raider, Jim Plunkett almost, Julian Edelman.
Yeah, he has. Hey, let's do this, Vinny, because I got to sign off. But I want to do what you're talking about is a great topic around which to do an NFL 100 special on. So let's plan that. And I want to go, John, because I want to get some comments out of the way before I close. Osmond Dias, hey, how you doing? 7140 says Raiders need to blitz and get the QB. Agreed. John Akala says Arden Key has disappeared from the defense. Don't know what's up with him. Well, I think my feeling with Arden Key is the Raiders didn't place him where he should have been to begin with, and then they put him on the weak side. And I honestly I've never seen him as a guy who, even though they touted him as such, was up to the snuff of replacing Khalil Mack. Okay, because people forget that Khalil Mack. Look, Khalil Mack was Khalil Mack in college. Okay, Khalil Mack didn't just come into the NFL and surprise people. Khalil Mack was the Raiders' fourth pick of the NFL draft to the Raiders. He was keenly instrumental, if you can say it, there's such a word, in Buffalo beating Ohio State. You hear what I'm saying? And remember that?
Khalil Mack. The reason for why some may was him a little low is because he was to a smaller school in Buffalo.
Right.
That's about it, really.
Right. I mean, look, Khalil Mack was a star in college. Arden Key was not at Khalil Mack's level in college. So the real problem,
not even close.
The real problem isn't Arden Key's fault. Arden Key didn't compare himself to Khalil Mack, but the Raiders put him in that position because the Raiders were stupid enough to misspend their money and over-rely on money that they thought they were going to have, not figuring that the Las Vegas tax situation wasn't going to work out well, and it didn't, okay? So here, the Raiders are in the position of a pay-go, expecting roughly $15 to $16 to $20 million more than they got, and they didn't get it.
Nope.
And they panicked, and they started unloading people, okay? And they unloaded Khalil Mack. But instead of being honest about it and saying, hey, look, we're having trouble because of the Las Vegas situation, all right, which is true,
Yeah.
they made it look like it was Khalil Mack's fault for not being a Raider or not doing this or doing that. And then they put Arden Key in the position of being heralded as the next Khalil Mack. That's ridiculous. So what I'm saying, John, Kala, is
you can't replace a guy like Khalil. And also,
right.
I know Amari Cooper was the guy that was going to make fun of, but guess what? As soon as he goes to the Dallas Cowboys, it's like a light switch going off,
yeah, that's right.
He immediately becomes the number one.
Yep. Hey, Vinny, I want to thank you for having on. I gotta skedaddle. We'll be back tomorrow night, folks.
Yeah.
Vinny, thanks.
Can't wait. Thank you so much, Vinny, for having me on.
Hey, Vinny, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna sign off here, but don't go anywhere, Vinny. Okay. Hey, everybody, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. 1 second. All right.